Have you noticed your cat doing something recently that you cannot quite explain? They eat their dinner. Maybe with their usual enthusiasm, maybe a little less than before, but they eat. And then, instead of doing what they used to do, instead of wandering over to find a patch of sunlight, or jumping onto the couch beside you, or weaving around your legs the way they always did after a meal, they simply disappear. You look up from what you are doing and they are gone. You check the usual spots. The corner behind the armchair. Underneath the bed. The back of the closet behind the winter coats. And there they are. Tucked into the darkness. Curled into themselves. Eyes open but half-lidded. Watching you find them without any of the usual curiosity or warmth. You call their names softly. Maybe they blink slowly at you. Maybe they do not respond at all. And you tell yourself what most cat owners tell themselves in that moment. That cats hide sometimes. That it is normal cat behavior. That they are probably just tired, or full, or simply in one of those moods that cats are famous for. You give them their space. You go back to what you were doing. But the next evening, after dinner, it happens again. Same meal time. Same disappearance. Same tucked away, half-lidded stillness in the same dark corner. And then the evening after that. And now you are not telling yourself it is just a mood anymore. Because moods do not follow a schedule. Moods do not happen specifically, consistently, predictably after the same event every single day. What is happening after your cat's dinner is not a mood. It is a pattern. And your instinct, the same instinct that told you something was different about that first evening, is now telling you loudly and clearly that this pattern means something. You are right. It does. What your cat is doing after dinner is not antisocial. It is not personality. It is not them being a cat. It is a behavioral signal connected to a physiological event that is happening inside their body during or after every meal. A silent trigger that most cat owners never identify because nobody ever explains to them what to look for or where to look. Tonight you are going to understand exactly what that trigger is. And exactly what to do about it before it becomes something your cat cannot hide from anymore. Hello everyone. I am Dr. Sophia Loran, and welcome back to Paw Secrets Lab. I have spent over 13 years in feline internal medicine and behavioral medicine. And I want to tell you something that changes the way most cat owners understand their cat's behavior entirely. Cats are the most profoundly skilled concealers of discomfort and illness in the companion animal world. It is not a personality trait. It is a survival mechanism so deeply wired into their biology that it operates automatically, unconsciously, and with extraordinary effectiveness even in the most domesticated, most loved, most secure household cats. In the wild, a cat that shows weakness is a cat that becomes prey. The biological imperative to hide discomfort is not a choice. It is an ancient, automatic protective program. And in a domestic cat, that program runs exactly the same way it did for their wild ancestors. When something feels wrong, they find the darkest, most enclosed, most protected space available to them. They become still. They become quiet. And they wait. What looks like your cat being antisocial after dinner is frequently your cat's ancient concealment program activating in response to something uncomfortable happening in their body during or after eating. What if I told you that post-dinner hiding in cats is one of the most consistently misread behavioral signals in all of companion animal medicine? And what if the silent trigger behind it, when identified correctly and addressed early, is almost always manageable, often reversible, and sometimes the earliest possible warning of a developing internal condition that caught now means a dramatically better outcome than caught later? Today at Paw Secrets Lab, we are going to decode this signal completely. Here is exactly what we are covering. In Chapter 1, I am going to explain the concealment biology. You are going to understand exactly why cats hide when something is wrong and why the post-meal timing is the most diagnostically significant detail of this behavior. In Chapter 2, I am going to reveal the 5 silent triggers. These are the 5 specific physiological causes that most commonly produce post-dinner hiding in cats, each with its own distinguishing characteristics. In Chapter 3, I am going to teach you the dinner-to-den observation protocol. This is the specific at-home observation system that identifies which of the 5 triggers is most likely affecting your cat and tells you exactly what to do next. And in Chapter 4, I will give you the critical warning signs that tell you when post-dinner hiding has crossed from a manageable signal into a veterinary emergency. Subscribe to Paw Secrets Lab right now and join our extraordinary, growing community of educated, devoted cat parents. Get something to write with. What you learn tonight is going to completely change how you read your cat's behavior after every meal. Let us begin. Welcome to Chapter 1. The Concealment Biology. Before we can identify the silent trigger behind your cat's post-dinner hiding, we need to understand the biological mechanism that produces the hiding behavior itself. Because understanding why cats hide tells you everything about what the hiding means. Your domestic cat is descended from a solitary, small predator that occupied a very specific and very precarious position in the natural food chain. They were hunters. But they were also hunted. Larger predators, birds of prey, larger felines, canids in their environment, all posed a genuine survival threat. And unlike social animals that can rely on the group for protection when an individual is compromised, your cat's wild ancestors had only one survival tool when they felt unwell, injured, or vulnerable: concealment. A cat that is in pain, nauseated, metabolically compromised, or physiologically distressed in any way is a cat that knows, at the deepest biological level, that they are vulnerable. Their reflexes are slower. Their ability to flee is reduced. Their capacity to defend themselves is diminished. And every one of those vulnerabilities is a survival threat that the ancient concealment program is designed to address by making them invisible. Find the smallest, darkest, most enclosed space. Minimize movement. Minimize sound. Minimize visibility. And wait until the vulnerability passes. This is precisely why cats hide illness so effectively that owners frequently do not recognize something is wrong until it has been wrong for weeks. The concealment is not incidental. It is biologically perfect. It is designed to be invisible. Now here is the critical piece of diagnostic information that the post-meal timing provides. Cats spend approximately 16 to 20 hours per day resting or sleeping. Random hiding at any point in the day can be difficult to distinguish from simple resting behavior. The behavioral baseline is already so low activity that deviation from it is hard to identify. But eating is one of the most consistent, high baseline behavioral events in a cat's daily life. It involves appetite engagement, physical approach, active consumption, and a predictable post-meal behavioral pattern that is specific to each individual cat. You know what your cat normally does after dinner. They have been showing you their post-meal routine for years. Which means when that post-meal routine changes specifically and consistently, the deviation is measurable against a known baseline in a way that general hiding during the day is not. The post-meal hiding is diagnostically significant precisely because eating is a defined, reproducible event. The hiding is happening in temporal relationship to a specific physiological trigger. And the most likely physiological triggers are events that occur inside the body during or immediately after the process of eating and early digestion. This is why the timing is not incidental. The timing is the diagnosis. Your cat is telling you that something uncomfortable is happening during or immediately after the eating process. And that narrows the list of possible causes to 5 specific, identifiable, addressable physiological events. Produce consistent post-dinner hiding in cats. For each trigger, I will give you the specific distinguishing characteristics that separate it from the others so that your observation protocol in Chapter 3 can be targeted and precise. Silent trigger number 1. Gastric pain and nausea from inflammatory bowel disease. Inflammatory bowel disease, or IBD, is one of the most common chronic gastrointestinal conditions in cats and one of the most consistently underdiagnosed because its early symptoms are subtle and easily attributed to normal cat behavior. IBD involves chronic inflammation of the gastrointestinal tract lining, most commonly the small intestine or the stomach. When the inflamed tissue is stimulated by the mechanical and chemical processes of digestion, the local inflammatory response intensifies. Stomach acid production increases. Gut motility becomes irregular and uncomfortable. And the cat experiences a wave of gastric discomfort and nausea that begins during or within 30 minutes of eating and continues for a variable period afterward. The distinguishing characteristics of IBD as the trigger for post-dinner hiding are these. The hiding began gradually, not suddenly. You can trace it back weeks or months if you think carefully. Your cat's appetite has been variable, sometimes eating enthusiastically, sometimes approaching the bowl and then walking away. Their body weight has been very slowly decreasing over months, enough that you might not have registered it consciously but would recognize it if you weighed them now compared to 12 months ago. You occasionally find evidence of vomiting, not dramatically, not daily, but periodically, particularly in the mornings. And their coat has changed subtly, slightly less glossy, slightly less dense, the kind of change that happens so slowly that you only notice when you see an old photograph. Silent trigger number 2. Hyperthyroidism-related post-meal discomfort. Hyperthyroidism is the most common endocrine disorder in cats, and it primarily affects middle-aged and older cats, typically those over 8 years of age. The thyroid gland produces excess thyroid hormone, which dramatically accelerates metabolic processes throughout the body. Among these accelerated processes is gastrointestinal motility. In a hyperthyroid cat, food moves through the gastrointestinal tract at an abnormally rapid rate. This rapid transit causes cramping, urgency, and discomfort during and after eating. The cat eats and then feels an immediate, uncomfortable wave of gastrointestinal cramping as the hyperstimulated gut responds to the food bolus with excessive contractile activity. The distinguishing characteristics that point specifically to hyperthyroidism as the post-dinner hiding trigger are these. Your cat is eating more than they used to, sometimes dramatically more, yet losing weight simultaneously. This combination of increased appetite with weight loss is the classical presentation of hyperthyroidism and should always prompt a thyroid-level blood test. Your cat is more restless, more vocal, or more hyperactive than they used to be, particularly in the evening. Their heart rate has increased, which you can actually assess by feeling their chest while they rest quietly. A normal resting heart rate in cats is between 100 and 140 beats per minute. A consistently elevated rate above this range warrants veterinary blood work. And they are drinking more water and urinating more frequently than their previous pattern. Silent trigger number 3. Dental and oral pain activated by eating. This trigger is the one that most consistently surprises cat owners when they learn about it. Dental disease in cats is extraordinarily prevalent. Studies indicate that over 70% of cats over 3 years of age have some degree of dental disease. And cats with significant dental pain frequently show no obvious signs of pain during casual observation because of the concealment biology we discussed in Chapter 1. But eating activates oral pain directly. Chewing food against an inflamed gum, a cracked tooth, or a resorptive lesion, which is a particularly common and particularly painful type of tooth erosion in cats, creates a wave of acute dental pain during the meal that then continues as a duller, persistent ache in the post-meal period. The cat hides not because of what digestion is doing to their stomach but because their mouth hurts, and they are waiting for the pain to subside. The distinguishing characteristic of dental pain as the post-dinner hiding trigger is the change in eating behavior before the hiding. A cat with significant dental pain will show one or more of these specific feeding behaviors. They approach the bowl eagerly but then hesitate at the moment of contact with food. They eat on one side of the mouth only, favoring one side consistently over the other. They drop food from their mouth while eating, pieces falling back into the bowl or onto the floor. They shake their head during or after eating. They eat more slowly than they used to. And they show particular aversion to hard kibble while accepting wet food more willingly. If you observe any combination of these eating behavior changes alongside the post-dinner hiding, please make a dental examination appointment with your veterinarian as a priority. Dental resorptive lesions are extraordinarily painful, and because they are located below the gum line, they are invisible without veterinary dental examination and radiography. Silent trigger number 4. Food intolerance and allergic gastrointestinal response. Food intolerance and food allergy in cats produce gastrointestinal symptoms through 2 different mechanisms, but both result in a similar post-meal experience for the cat. Discomfort, cramping, nausea, or gastrointestinal urgency that begins during digestion and motivates the cat to find a safe, quiet, enclosed space to manage the internal experience privately. The distinguishing characteristic of food intolerance, as the trigger, is its relationship to a dietary change. Cast your mind back to when the post-dinner hiding began. Did it coincide, even approximately, with a change in food brand, a change in protein source, a change from one life stage formula to another, or even a change in the batch or manufacturing lot of the same food? Food intolerances frequently develop after repeated exposure to a specific protein, even one the cat has eaten for years without obvious problem. The immune system can sensitize over time. And then one batch, one feeding, one meal marks the beginning of a post-meal experience that drives the concealment response. The additional distinguishing feature is the presence of digestive symptoms alongside the hiding. Loose stool, mucus in the stool, intermittent vomiting, or increased flatulence occurring alongside the post-dinner hiding points clearly toward a gastrointestinal food response rather than a systemic metabolic condition. Silent trigger number 5. Cardiac discomfort and post-meal circulatory demand. This is the least common of the 5 triggers but the one that carries the highest clinical urgency when it is present. After eating, the digestive system demands a significant increase in blood flow to support the active digestive process. In a cat with a healthy heart, this increase in circulatory demand is managed effortlessly. But in a cat with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, which is the most common heart disease in cats and which can be completely silent until a crisis event, the heart's ability to respond to increased circulatory demand is compromised. The additional cardiac effort required by digestion produces a feeling of discomfort, fatigue, or respiratory difficulty that begins during or shortly after eating and causes the cat to immediately seek rest in an enclosed, secure location. The distinguishing characteristics that point toward cardiac involvement are these. The hiding is accompanied by a subtle increase in respiratory rate during the hiding period. Count your cat's breaths per minute while they are hiding and resting. A resting respiratory rate consistently above 30 breaths per minute in a cat is a cardiac warning sign that requires urgent veterinary assessment. Your cat tires more quickly than they used to during play. They seem to breathe slightly harder than normal during minor activity. And you may have noticed their abdomen appearing slightly rounder or more distended than previously, which can indicate fluid accumulation from heart failure. Welcome to Chapter 3. The Dinner-to-Den Observation Protocol. Armed with everything you now know about the 5 silent triggers, I am going to give you a precise observation framework that you can implement starting with tonight's dinner. This protocol does not require any equipment beyond your phone camera and your eyes. It requires focused, deliberate observation of your cat from the moment food is presented through the first 30 minutes after the meal ends. Observation Window 1. Pre-meal approach behavior. Before you place the food bowl down, observe your cat's approach. Do they come eagerly, directly, and with clear enthusiasm? Or do they approach tentatively, hesitate near the bowl, circle it, or appear conflicted about beginning to eat? Hesitant approach combined with post-dinner hiding points toward oral pain or gastrointestinal anticipatory discomfort from previous meal experiences. Note your observation with a timestamp on your phone. Observation Window 2. The eating process. Watch your cat eat with deliberate attention for the full duration of the meal. Are they eating on both sides of the mouth? Do they drop any food? Do they shake their head at any point? Do they eat continuously or do they stop, pull back, and restart repeatedly? Are they eating faster than usual or slower than usual? Any deviation from their established eating pattern is clinically significant information. Also note the volume consumed. A cat eating dramatically more than usual alongside weight loss points toward hyperthyroidism. A cat eating less than usual alongside gradual weight loss points toward IBD or dental pain. Observation Window 3. The transition period. Watch what your cat does in the first 5 minutes after finishing the meal. This transition period is the most diagnostically revealing window. A cat whose discomfort is triggered by digestion rather than the meal itself will often spend 2 to 3 minutes post-meal appearing relatively normal before the hiding behavior begins as early digestion activates. A cat whose discomfort is triggered by the meal itself, by dental pain or oral discomfort, will often move directly toward hiding within 60 seconds of finishing eating. Time the interval between the last bite and the beginning of hiding behavior. 60 seconds or less points toward oral pain. 2 to 15 minutes points toward early gastric response from IBD or food intolerance. 15 to 30 minutes points toward cardiac or metabolic causes where the post-meal circulatory demand builds more gradually. Record the interval precisely. Observation Window 4. The hiding posture. Go to wherever your cat is hiding and observe them for 60 seconds without disturbing them. Specifically note their respiratory rate. Count the number of breath cycles, 1 inhale plus 1 exhale equals 1 breath, in 15 seconds and multiply by 4. This gives you their resting respiratory rate in breaths per minute. If this rate is consistently above 30, Call your veterinarian tomorrow morning and mention specifically that you have measured an elevated resting respiratory rate. This single measurement is one of the most important cardiac monitoring tools available to cat owners at home. Also observe their posture. Are they curled normally and appearing to rest? Or are they hunched with their elbows slightly out from their body, a posture called orthopneic positioning that animals adopt to maximize chest expansion when breathing is effortful? Any orthopneic positioning warrants same-day veterinary assessment. Observation Window 5. The recovery timeline. Note the time at which your cat reemerges from hiding and returns to normal behavior. Does the hiding last 5 to 10 minutes and then resolve as whatever discomfort triggered it passes? Does it last for the entire evening until bedtime? Or does your cat remain hidden throughout the night? Brief hiding that resolves within 15 to 30 minutes points toward a less severe gastrointestinal trigger. Prolonged hiding that extends for hours points toward a more significant and more persistent source of discomfort. Document all 5 observation windows for 3 consecutive evenings. 3 evenings of documented observation gives your veterinarian a behavioral pattern rather than a single anecdote, and transforms your appointment from, "My cat seems to hide after dinner," into a precise, timed, documented clinical picture that enables targeted diagnosis. Welcome to Chapter 4. When post-dinner hiding is a same-day emergency. The observation protocol and the 5-trigger framework are designed for cats whose post-dinner hiding is a pattern developing over days and weeks. But there are specific presentations alongside hiding behavior that eliminate the need for observation and require you to contact your veterinarian or an emergency clinic immediately. If your cat is hiding and their resting respiratory rate is above 40 breaths per minute, or if you can visibly see their sides moving rapidly with breathing effort even while they are resting completely still, this is a respiratory and cardiac emergency. Do not wait until morning. Go directly to an emergency veterinary clinic right now. If your cat came out of hiding and is open-mouth breathing, meaning their mouth is open and they are panting, this is a critical emergency in cats. Unlike dogs, cats virtually never pant from heat or exertion in the way dogs do. Open-mouth breathing in a cat indicates severe respiratory distress or extreme pain. This is an emergency clinic situation without exception. If your cat has been hiding for more than 24 hours continuously and has not eaten, not used the litter box, and not responded to your approach, the combination of complete withdrawal from all normal biological functions alongside hiding indicates serious systemic illness. Same-day veterinary assessment is mandatory. If your cat emerges from hiding and is visibly unsteady on their feet, walking with an abnormal gait, dragging one or more limbs, or appears disoriented and confused, these neurological symptoms alongside hiding behavior can indicate a stroke, a cardiac thromboembolism, which is a blood clot event that occurs in cats with heart disease, or a serious metabolic crisis. Any of these presentations is a critical emergency requiring immediate veterinary care. If you notice your cat's gums are pale, white, gray, or blue tinge rather than their normal pink color, this color change indicates severely compromised circulation or oxygenation. This is among the most serious emergency signs in any animal. Go to an emergency clinic immediately regardless of what time it is. And if your instinct tells you something is profoundly wrong beyond what you can articulate, trust it completely. You have lived with your cat. You know they're normal. When something feels catastrophically different, even if you cannot name exactly what it is, that feeling is clinical information. Act on it. You came here tonight because you noticed something. Something that other people in your life probably told you was just your cat being a cat. Something you almost talked yourself out of worrying about because the internet told you cats hide sometimes, and that is perfectly normal. Something that your own common sense kept pulling you back to because patterns are not normal. Patterns mean something. You were right to keep pulling back to it. Your cat cannot walk up to you after dinner and say that their stomach hurts. They cannot tell you that every time they eat, something in their body produces an uncomfortable wave that sends them looking for the smallest, darkest, safest place they can find to wait it out alone. They cannot explain that the concealment is not rejection and is not preference and is not mood. It is biology. It is a survival program running perfectly in a body that feels less than perfectly safe. All they can do is disappear after dinner. Into the corner behind the armchair. Under the bed. Into the back of the closet. And hope, in the wordless way that cats hope for anything, That the person who fills their bowl and knows their face and calls their name softly in the dark is the kind of person who notices when the pattern changes. You noticed. You did not look away. You did not accept the comfortable explanation because the comfortable explanation did not feel true. You came here and you learned about inflammatory bowel disease and hyperthyroidism and dental resorptive lesions and cardiac circulatory demand and food intolerance. You learned to count breaths and time intervals and watch for orthopneic positioning. You learned that hiding after dinner is a signal, and that signals have sources, and that sources can be found and addressed and managed before they become something much harder to face. That is what loving a cat actually looks like at its most important. Not the comfortable evenings when they curl up in your lap and everything is easy. But this. The noticing. The refusing to look away. The learning. The deciding that a signal from your cat's body deserves a real answer. Tell me in the comments below. How long has your cat been hiding after dinner? And after learning about the 5 silent triggers tonight, which one feels most consistent with what you are observing? Your answer helps me give you more specific guidance directly. And it will give comfort and direction to every other cat owner reading these comments right now who has been watching the same pattern and feeling the same quiet, persistent worry. If this masterclass gave you a name for what you were seeing and a clear path forward, please tap the like button. It tells the YouTube algorithm that feline behavioral medicine and early warning detection matter and carries this video to the cat owners who need it most urgently right now. Subscribe to Paw Secrets Lab and join our incredible, compassionate community of educated cat parents who choose to understand their animals rather than simply accept their mysteries. I am Dr. Sophia Loran. Start the dinner-to-den observation protocol tonight. Count those breaths. Time that interval. Document those 3 evenings. And if anything in Chapter 4 matched what you are seeing, please do not wait for the weekend to pass or the schedule to clear. Call your veterinarian tomorrow morning and tell them exactly what you have observed. Your cat disappeared after dinner because something needed your attention. Tonight you gave it. I will see you in the very next video.